This film first premiered at Sundance, but then some things happened in the world and things kind of slowed down for a while. But now everyone's getting ready to see it, and it's definitely one of my favorite films of the year. Robert, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks, Landon.
This film was so phenomenal. I told the studio that it was a powder keg of raw human emotion. I just told Clayne that I had never seen, even with Adam Driver in A Marriage Story, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing people compare your work to Noah Baumbach, but even when Adam Driver went there, Clayne went there to the 10th power. The magnitude and what he exuded on screen was so phenomenal. I mean, what was the genesis of this project? Let's start there.
Yeah, the genesis was just dealing with, in my own life, friends of mine who had been married as long as I have, and the marriage is starting to end, or going through these really complicated, difficult times and trying to kind of keep it together. And I was so very, very interested in that. I was interested in some of my male friends who just acted very out of character. It did things that were very odd to me, pounding on their spouse's door at 2 a.m, screaming at them, just these things that I'm like, what are you doing? And I began to realize that what they were doing, they were unaware of. It wasn't like a thing that they knew. It wasn't like they played soccer on the weekend and they had a hothead even there. So I really wanted to explore this idea of a man about to lose everything and trying to figure out how to handle it while not being able to handle it at all.
No, and I think you portrayed that so phenomenally, because you can really see his emotion and the tensions, like, continuing to build up. And then finally we've got, the climax, and it's just like I said, a powder keg. But like we and Clayne were saying before, it's one thing when we see these stories like A Marriage Story, based in LA, where people have money to afford, attorneys and nannies and, second houses and stuff like that. But here in rural America, people just have to make it work. And I think that's when we start to see like your friends' innate emotions come out. You take away the money, you take away that security, you take away that comfort. They've got nothing left to lose. And they're like, whatever it takes to get what I need. And that's when that kind of innate, kind of animalistic emotion comes out. And I just thought you you portrayed that so well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was very interested in that. There was some friends of mine in Nebraska that I had met. I thought they were, had been happily married. And they had shared with me that, they had planned a divorce. They couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford it even to have 2 homes. I mean, even in my own family, I have some family members who are still living together with their spouses, out of how expensive it is to live in California, and that is an interesting dynamic to kind of explore. Like you said, what the result of it is really raw emotion, because you don't have the standard abilities. I thought Marriage Story is a great movie, but I have often said I don't know anyone in my own life that can write a $20,000 check to a lawyer. That's just not in the wheelhouse for anyone I know. And what do you do when that's not? You don't have those options.
No, you have to make it work. You have to rely on that sense of community, even when, like in the film, Nikki's like dating someone else and David's having to deal with that while dealing with all of his emotion, his own self, issues and all of that kind of stuff. But it's done so well. I keep saying this is art at its highest form, from the cinematography, the tone, the acting, the music. I mean, there's not one second when the audience isn't completely enthralled in this, and this unpredictable display of, like I said, raw human emotion. There's really no other way to describe it. I can't wait to see what's next for you. I know you just filmed another one with Clayne in Alabama, right?
Yeah. The film we just shot, The Integrity of Joseph Chambers, is an interesting other aspect. A friend of mine was like, "Oh, you're exploring themes in masculinity. Are you going to keep this going?" And I was like, "I guess probably." But it really is this father who's afraid of the world ending, as many of us kind of feel in the back of our minds, like maybe this is all going to go down soon, and decides that he needs to learn how to hunt. He needs to go back to kind of the primal Western ideologies, but he has really no business being out there. And the result of that is kind of chaos. And so, yeah, we shot that. We're in post-production right now. Peter Albrechtsen, who did the sound on Killing of Two Lovers, is back doing the sound. And so we talked just yesterday and are exploring many of those aspects.
Yeah, because I know you shot The Killing of Two Lovers on a very low budget, and hopefully you've got a bigger budget this time. But what you and Clayne and the team were able to pull off with that budget is so phenomenal. I mean, it really is. I really think that you guys are going to win Oscars. And I think you've got such a dynamic, the way that he's able to portray your work and get to that level. I mean, I could see you guys working together a lot in the future. Do you?
Yeah. I'm very excited at the opportunity to work with Clayne and to really kind of, what's exciting about having a relationship with an actor that can go into multiple films is that you can, one, learn your process together, how to communicate. Often when we're doing things like we did ADR last week for the film, there was dialogues of like, okay, in this scene when we were shooting, what was going on with you and what was going on with me, so that next time we can kind of communicate better and get into things deeper. There's a lot of value in that. I mean, in partnerships like that, because my hope is to continue to expand the complexity of characters. I mean, for me, getting to work with somebody like Clayne and Seppi and Chris, it's like, I keep saying it's kind of like a drug, because you're like a composer being like, can he hit these notes? Like if we say the climactic scene, for example, you watch him build, say things that you're like, what are you saying? And then you're like, that's inappropriate. And then you're like, but I get now, and you watch the evolution that happens. And it was funny because as we shot some of those, there are a couple of the takes where it just got so heated between Chris and Clayne, where I would call cut, and they were like too far, and they'd have to kind of hug it out because they were on the verge of blows. And the intricacy of not getting to blows, but getting to right where it needed to be, that was very critical. And
balancing trick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely.
So multiple films really allows you to kind of dive in and again, develop a shorthand and trust with one another.
Yeah. And where do you see, as far as the pandemic, where do you see independent film kind of ending up after this? Do you see more people rushing to see independent film, or are you concerned about independent film? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I have some concerns just out of the theatrical experience. I have concerns about, I was thinking about this last night as I was talking with my son, it's like, if you only eat jelly beans, then eventually you've got to have steak and like potatoes and carrots. Like those are critical aspects of our diet. And if popcorn movies are really all that's there, we don't create an environment for social discourse. And Killing Two Lovers is like it goes, hey, love is really hard. Love is really difficult. In my mind, somebody, even a young kid who watches the movie, maybe when they get married and they're having their first fight, they go like, okay, it's not over. We have to work through it. Like there's so I hope that there's a place for independent cinema, because I think it allows for social discourse. I think there is. I only worry that it might not be in big theaters, that it may be only supporting kind of independent cinema. In Salt Lake, we have the Broadway cinema, and it's like, okay, let's make sure that place is alive.
And work through this.
You need to fight. You need to fight for us.
David, can you look at me? This is my family. They're worth it.